welcome to Better Than Yesterday. It's been a little while, and I wanted to have a conversation today with you guys, simply about why you should develop your social muscle. This is not necessarily a video about how to develop your social muscle. We've actually got videos on this channel and episodes where we've spoken about how to be more confident and how to get out there and speak to people. But I wanted to talk actually about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and that is just developing your social skills, and why this is something that you should be prioritizing in your life. In the same way that we exercise our body, and the same way that we exercise our brain and our knowledge by perhaps going to school or university and learning more and gaining information, you should also prioritize how to become a more social person and how to develop your social skills. This is something, and you might be thinking, why should I be taking this advice from a guy sitting in his room? What does he know about going outside and being social? But this is something that I actually learned, the hard way. In that, just going out and meeting people and being social was something that not necessarily came naturally to me. I was quite introverted, as I've said before on this channel, growing up, and it was something that I had to develop my social muscle. It wasn't something that came to me naturally, but I developed it, and it's something now that I really enjoy exercising. Being around people and meeting new friends is, what makes life worth it for me. But obviously, this was something that I had to develop. And I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys simply about why this is so important and why this is something you should prioritize in your life. So the first thing, people sometimes say that life is a game. And in some ways this is true. Depends. It's an aspect or an angle that you can look at life through. And you'll quickly realize that life then, if it is a game, as we are looking at it in this context, it's not a game that you play by yourself. At the end of the day, if that was how things went, then life would be very different. But life is a game that you play with other people. And to actually win at life and to get as far as you possibly can and achieve the things that you want to, you're going to have to work with other people. So it's very important to actually gain that skill and that knowledge of how to work with other people well. And life just is better in general the more that you interact with other people, and the better that you are at doing that. If you can orient your life in a way where you don't just live for your life being the best it possibly can, but you live in a way that also allows other people to enjoy themselves more and to live in a better way, this will mean that other people will want to do the same thing for you. I was listening to a podcast earlier, as hopefully all podcasters do, and it's interesting, I was listening to a conversation between Jordan Peterson and this guy Oliver Anthony. He's this singer who is currently blowing up for his song that he made, Rich Men North of Richmond. I'm sure you guys might have heard of that. But anyway, what they were basically saying is that if you live your life in a way that benefits not only yourself but other people, then other people will be, those people that you have positively influenced and impacted will want to do the same for you. So if you want to win in life in this game that we're all playing, the best way to do so is not to just aim for yourself reaching the top, but to bring others along with you. And that way they'll do the same for you and help you to climb that mountain. So it's valuable for yourself to play the game with other people and to learn how to do that in a way as best as you possibly can. You can make good connections. It opens up way more opportunities. I remember I used to be someone who used to say no, for example, to plans. And I went through a period in my life where I changed things up quite drastically, and I started saying yes to almost every opportunity that came my way. If someone invited me out, I'd be like, cool, I'm there. If an opportunity came to meet someone that I hadn't met before, and they wanted, this guy, for example, that I met, wants to go out and develop a friendship, I would take that opportunity. And I've made some amazing friends, and connections through that, even in terms of furthering my career and my studies. So you benefit from it by actually including other people in your life and bettering their lives in the process. And at the end of the day, you're going to have more fun with other people than you would by isolating yourself and trying to live life for your benefit. So there's also the second point of why this is so important is simply because you will live longer. And there's a couple of studies that I'll link down below that have literally shown that you live longer. So this is a practical tip on why you should prioritize making connections and developing your social skills to make friends and meet more people. is the fact that you will live longer because of it. It's quite interesting that in these studies they followed people who had really good friends and close friends in their life, and they followed people who perhaps didn't and were more isolated. And the people who were isolated and didn't have close friends were much more likely to die of things like a heart attack, and simply because they had way more anxiety and were more prone to depression. So yeah, this is a great reason to do this as well, is because you will live longer. Quite a practical tip there as well. So one thing I want to say about this as well is the fact that iron sharpens iron, and in this scenario, you are iron and other people are also iron. So in this channel, for example, Better Than Yesterday, with Daniel and Michael, as it's called, it's kind of built on friendship. Obviously, Daniel and I are running this whole platform and this this amazing project that we're doing together. So what we're doing is kind of built on our friendship, because without that, it wouldn't be here. And Daniel and I's friendship is probably the greatest example in my life that I can think of this, in how iron sharpens iron. So having someone with you in life to provide a different perspective will actually just make you a much better person. So for example, in this friendship, Daniel and I, throughout this project actually of Better Than Yesterday, we both provided different thoughts and different points of view that have allowed the channel to be so much better than it would be if it was just me running this channel, for example. Having Daniel along with me has, sometimes he's pointed out faults and things that I've been doing wrong, and I've done the same for him. So having a friend along the way to do this with has allowed the channel to be so much more diverse, and allowed different points of view. It's made us do different things. When I was there in Namibia, we had differing ideas for what skit we wanted to do. For example, in the beginning of the video, there's little comedy skits that you guys hate, but Daniel and I enjoy to record. But yeah, that is basically, the point of it is that iron sharpens iron. So having someone with you, a close friend, and you don't have to have lots of close friends, but you want to develop your social muscle to a point where you're not isolated and where you aren't afraid to, go up to people. A new person shouldn't be this like scary thing in your mind. You should be looking at it as an opportunity for you to better their life and them to perhaps better your life in return. But this I'll come to later, but you should obviously look to better their life first. You shouldn't be going into something, a friendship or a relationship of any kind, looking for what you can get out. But I'll get into that later. So a very important point, no great example for myself than the friendship that I have with Daniel. The fact that, even throughout high school, when we were going through difficult times, a lot of time, Daniel and I are quite in sync. We'd be going through difficult times at the same time. And just having him there, to give advice, to call me out when I'm falling, when I'm slacking, when I'm falling behind, has been so valuable, and life wouldn't be the same without it. So also what I want to mention is the fact that you can learn something from everyone. So sometimes you might meet someone who you might not actually like initially, or maybe you just you were quite indifferent to them. You didn't really have much of an opinion of that person. I'm someone who goes to social events quite often because I'm quite involved in the church that I go to, for example, but I used to go out and, partying and all that sort of thing. So I've had the opportunity to meet lots of different people very often, And sometimes there's people that you aren't really drawn to, but maybe you'll just be sitting next to each other at a party, let's say, or at a social gathering. And, you might be both on your phones. This is the thing with our generation, and why I wanted to actually make a video like this is because I don't think we prioritize this kind of thing enough. We are so prone to isolating ourselves because we have everything at our fingertips. Why would we need to interact with other people when it's all like I can entertain myself here from my phone? So yeah, oftentimes that'll be a situation where two people are standing next to each other, both on their phone, and they're not interacting with each other. And I try my best never to do this, because if I'm standing next to someone, they might be on their phone. But I'll try and make a conversation with them, because you never know how interesting of a person they could be. And even so, like I said, every single person that you come across has something that you can learn from. You might see them, maybe it's a bit of a younger person or maybe an older person, and you don't associate with what they are doing. Maybe you don't have a lot in common, but you can still learn so much from that person. And I've made some amazing friends along the way who are, I lead at youth, as you would have seen in the last video. I've spoken to quite a lot of teenagers who are, and even I've learned things from them, and what's going on in their life has allowed me and given me new perspectives. And even then again, interacting with much older people, a lot of my friends were in their late 20s, or at least early 20s when I was a teenager, and still is like that today, and even older than that, 40s, 50s, 60s. So never turn down the opportunity to interact with someone, because you never know what you could really learn from that person. And I've had some amazing experiences like that. Like I said, just friends, people who have pointed me in the right direction, opened a new perspective that's really like changed my mind. And that's the part of the wisdom that I try to dispel in this channel is simply what I've gained from interacting with other people. I wouldn't want to be someone who just talks about my own life experiences and everything about Michael. I'm sure that wouldn't be quite as interesting as if, not including all the things that I've learned from other people. And if I hadn't, interacted with all of these different people in my life, I wouldn't be able to tell all of these stories. So yeah, never turn an opportunity down, because you never know what you can learn. You might think that this person is not interesting, you might think that you have nothing in common, but take the opportunity to actually speak to them and develop your social muscle further, even with interacting with people who maybe aren't the same as you. That's also an important thing. It's somewhat easier to interact with people and develop your social skills with maybe your peers, but even develop it to the point where you can interact and be friendly with older people, younger people, etc. So yeah, I wanted to get onto this point, and this is something that I learned from a very good friend of mine, and it's just the way he approaches life. He's this guy who just has always has energy, and always has he's almost never like down. I'm sure he does feel down sometimes, but he just always is like the light in the room. And the one time he was telling me, that you should go into a relationship of any sort, two people being together and interacting, that is a relationship, continually. You should go into that kind of situation in a way where you're not looking for what you can gain from this experience. You're not looking at it like, I'm going to go and meet this person, and hopefully, they will give me a connection that'll get me a job, if that's what you're looking for example. You shouldn't even go into it thinking like, oh, I can get a good time out of this person, I can use them for, something like that. That's not what you should go into it, because it's not actually the best way to get that. You should go into a situation, forming a new relationship with someone, developing your social skills, interacting with new people, looking at it as, what can I give to this person of myself? What can I give of myself to this person to make their life better? And oftentimes that's literally just like, instead of being that person who's on their phone, speaking to them. People actually appreciate that, and they might be isolated themselves. So you being that person who's going up to them and saying hi, and asking them about their life, and being interested in them, is one of the greatest gifts that you can give. So go into relationships thinking, what can I give to this person, rather than what can I get from them. And you'll find that you'll actually get a lot more from a person if you go in with that attitude. And that's what life is all about at the end of the day. Like I said, forming relationships, the amount of like satisfaction and fulfillment that you can get from forming meaningful relationships with other people is more than what you would get from pursuing almost anything else. So yeah, now moving on to a couple of like practical tips on how you can do this. Like I said, this video isn't necessarily about how to do it, but I'll give a few tips now on exactly how you can just go out into the world and exercise this muscle. And so at the end of the day, you just need to go out and exercise it. Take those opportunities to say hi to someone that you wouldn't normally. If you're in an elevator and you're going up, this is often the case. You usually are standing there awkwardly and neither person is talking. Be the first person to say like, hey, how's it going? Like, what floor are you going to? What are you up to? And it can feel awkward. I know that it's not an easy thing to do, but this is how you develop and exercise your social muscle, is by taking these kind of opportunities that you would usually pass up. So next time you're in an elevator, this is the challenge, is to say hi to that person, even if all you say is hi or how are you. That is taking the opportunity. When you go to the shops and you're dealing with the cashier, greet them, ask them how their day was. These kind of things is what is going to develop your social muscle, and that muscle is going to get bigger and bigger, and eventually you'll be able to, strike up a conversation with almost anyone and get to know them, and you'll be someone who gets a lot more opportunities than people who always are turning down those kind of chances to interact with new people. And yeah, the other thing is just asking people questions. The first thing can be, hi, how are you? But then from there, like I said, you ask them, where they're on their way to. Oh, that's interesting. I've heard of that. What are your thoughts on this? Just ask questions. That's how you also. You don't want to be the kind of person who just starts talking about yourself, because if you're in the elevator and you just start talking about yourself to someone else, they're probably gonna walk out of that elevator thinking, sheesh, don't want to see that guy again. But instead, your goal should not be to be interesting. This is the final point. Your goal should not be to be interesting. And it's great to be an interesting person, and maybe you are a very interesting person and you've got a lot to tell about yourself. But your goal instead, again, should be to be interested. Interested in them, interested in their life, and finding out more about them. And in that way, you will make much more strong connections with people than if you were just talking about yourself the whole time. So yeah, this is all I have to say, I think, on the topic for now. And yeah, I would love to hear from you guys, perhaps, what your thoughts are on this thing. Is this something that you do in your life on a regular basis, or is it something that is a challenge for you, interacting with people and exercising your social muscle? And if it is, I really encourage you and challenge you to start to do that in your life. You will not regret it. That's all I can say. You will only benefit from it, and we can all get a little bit further in this game of life, as I was saying in the beginning there. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to this one. Daniel and I are going to be back soon, recording another conversation and having some fun together on the podcast. We've both been quite busy recently, but yeah, it's an amazing privilege that we have to come and talk to you guys, and yeah, just have these cool conversations that push ourselves forward and allow us to be better than who we were yesterday. So thanks so much for listening. Please consider leaving a like if you did enjoy, and subscribing to Better Than Yesterday. If you want to see more content like this, as I mentioned earlier, that will just push you to be the best version of yourself. And hopefully we can all do that together. I'll see you in the next one. Much love.